Chapter 3 Shiba Elk. Shiba woke and stretched out her long elk legs and shook the dirt from her thick coat. She opened her big brown eyes and blinked them to adjust to the early morning light. She was lying in the edge of the thick forest that had been her home since she was small calf. She took in a deep breath of the crisp, clean mountain air. She could immediately smell the plentiful grasses, flowers, and trees around her, but also the rich earth and dew beneath her hooves. She could even smell her mother and father close by. She stood and looked out the large meadow in front of her. The dew glistened with the sunlight as it slowly filled the field. As beautiful as it was, Shiba felt a sudden sadness frow in her. The sweet, crisp grass there was almost gone, and there was the familiar chill coming down the cliffs and over the rivers. She knew her father will want to move on soon. The cold and hardships of winter was coming, and they needed to eat and store as much fat as possible through the summer to keep them warm from the long, cold winter, and their food was almost gone. 15 JB Mounteer. Shiba shook the negative thoughts from her mind, did a little hop to shake the dew from her feet and tail, then happily start eating the wet grass. She loved the taste of this meadow's grasses, especially when it started to seed, almost as good as the purple flowers. She looked over to see her father and mother grazing next the trees. Her father was one of the largest of the bull elk, her eyes focused on his thick antlers that spread wide as he raised his head to look around. His large neck turned back and forth, his long ears meandering across batting flies away and listening to the surroundings. He yawned, showing his two large ivory teeth. "Hey, father," she called out as she noticed them. "If deer are just our smaller brother line, why do they not have that type of teeth?" He leaned his massive head and neck back, filed his great lungs with air, and let out a beautiful bellow that slid from a deep low to high pitch and back again. Like a giant horn, it bounced off the mountains and sliced through the tress. He looked back at her, lifting one eyelid. "Got it," she laughed. Shiba walked to the river that was close by. The water felt great. She slapped her head around, splashing herself. The water tasted clear as the blue morning sky. She glanced down the river and saw two large bears playing and catching their fill of fish, that needed to store up much fatter, for they take over long winter slumbers. Shiba had made friends like them and would miss them all for a time. Others she would never see. They had been taken by two-legged ones. Her father had tried to explain to her some of the Elkapella's teachings, especially those teachings of the two-legged creatures. She loved the lore and mysteries of Elkapella, but Shiba did not want to listen about them. As far as she cared, they were just cruel, soulless beasts. Shiba walked over and nudged her mother's neck. "Good morning, mother," she said, blinking her long eyelashes on her large brown eyes. A Legend of Elkapella. Elkapella 16. Her mother smiled lovingly and nodded towards her father. "He's seen Elkapella today," she said, looking back to Shiba. "So we'll be leaving soon." Shiba ignored the leaving part, concerned more with the legendary Elkapella. She looked around excitedly, her eyes wide and tail wagging furiously. She had always wanted to see Elkapella with her own eyes. She was sure she would see him one day, and maybe that was today. She had heard the legend of Elkapella almost every day since she was born. She didn't know where he came from or where he went, but he had always been there. Shiba's father knew more than he would tell her about the legend. The ways he always told it, it was like he was there to see it himself. She could tell by the look in his eyes that he always wanted to say more, but something would continually stop him before he could speak the words. He told that one day long ago, the hunters were mean, cruel, and ruthless beasts. They would seem to slaughter animals. Even when they had enough and were fat and full, they would always take more than they needed. He told her that when Elkapella came, that all changed. Elkapella came, that all changed. Elkapella had also taught the hunters how listen to the forest and all of us that live in this world with them. They were not the only creatures here that matter. "Shandy, Shiba," her father shouted, his dark eyes scanning into the trees. "We must go." Shiba's mother looked worried too as she used nose as well eyes to see beyond the trees and stepped closer to Shiba's father. "You smell something too, don't you?" she whispered. Shiba's father nodded. "Elkapella had shown us to move already. he started to walk into the dark of the woods. I thought we had more time to gather.